So you recently cleaned out your closet, or you're just looking for a way to make some extra money this summer. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to sell your clothes online, how to sell clothes on Depop, and my tips and tricks for getting consistent sales.
I need a change. I need for something to happen to me.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Alicia, and for today's video I wanted to make a comprehensive guide to selling on Depop. There are a lot of videos about selling online. It was really hard for me to find a video that covered everything from lighting to shipping to sourcing to everything in between. So I wanted to make a video that explained all these different things. So if you're just starting out your Depop or you're just looking for some tips to sell things, I've got you. This video is probably going to be really long. I think it was like 30 minutes of just straight footage of me talking. Without further ado, let's get into my guide to selling clothes on Depop. The first thing I'm going to be talking about is sourcing, and sourcing is where you get the clothes that you're going to be selling online. I would recommend not going out and buying a bunch of things before you know what's going to sell on your Depop. I would recommend starting off with listing things that you have in your closet that you don't want anymore, or that your mom, or your sister, or your friends have. And this is for two different reasons. The first is that you want to build up your Depop shop and you want to have as many listings as possible, because having more listings increases the amount of viewers and amount of people that could come across your Depop page. The second one is you don't know what's going to sell yet, so you don't want to go out and spend all your money on things you think is going to sell. A lot of the time we get caught up in what we think is going to sell or what we like and we think other people are going to like, but that's not always true. And so the best way to get around this is to sell what you have and see what people are buying, and then go out and invest your money in those things so that you're spending your money wisely when you're buying things for your Depop shop. I would say I go thrifting around 1 to 3 times a week, and there are a couple of different places I go in order to find the items that I'm going to sell. The first place I like to shop is at my local Value Village thrift shop, because they have really good sales. On a normal day, they do 25, 50, and 75% off sales based on a color tag, so the longer an item sits, the more on sale it is. Usually the items that are on sale are items that I probably wouldn't pick up, but sometimes I can find good pieces. But what I really like about this thrift store is that they do 50% off sale days where everything in the store is half off, and they are constantly bringing out new items, and this attracts a lot of people. And sometimes people get shovey and they get really mean, but it's a really great way for me to find things, and it's normally on holidays, so like Memorial Day I went and I was able to find Urban Outfitters and Free People and stuff at a really good price point. So if your local thrift store does sales like that, I know some thrift stores do like $1 days, I would definitely recommend checking that out. I know some thrift stores are like Goodwill, Salvation Army, Savers, Goodwill bins. If you're willing to dig and deal with people who are like kind of mean, go to the Goodwill bins. Okay, and you can also check out like Plato's Closet, because sometimes you'll be able to find an item like a Princess Polly piece or a Brandy Melville piece that sells really high for a really great deal. The second way that I find items to sell, so eBay is a place to find items. You can also shop on Depop, Mercari, Vinted, Poshmark, and a couple of different ones. I actually made a whole video about online thrifting, which I will link here. But if you're able to find pieces really cheap where there is enough of a margin that you can sell them and make a profit, this is a good way to get trendier pieces. Or if you can't leave the house, I know during the pandemic I couldn't leave my house, so I would thrift online, and that was pretty much how I ran my Instagram thrift shop at the time. The third way that I find items is through garage sales and estate sales. So basically, people are trying to clean out their houses and they're trying to get rid of all their old stuff, but usually the items that are big ticket items are clothing, electronics, and expensive handbags, so people are not focusing on clothes, and so you can find things like fill a bag for $10, or items will be 25 cents a piece. So I love to go to garage sales for this reason, and estate sales, because you can get so many good things for so cheap, and that's always the goal, is you want to make the most money, so you want to get the item for like as little money as possible. And if you don't know where to look for these estate sales or garage sales, you can check out estatesales.net. If you put in your zip code, it will tell you all the different estate sales near you. You can also go on Facebook, I think, and then Craigslist, or literally just Google like estate sales near and then whatever your town name is, and you'll probably be able to find them. Usually they're hosted on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and you want to try and get there as early as possible, because that means that the items won't be picked over and you'll have a better chance at finding really good items. Now, I have a couple of rules that I follow when I'm looking for items to make sure I'm not spending too much and make sure I'm getting the right kinds of pieces. The first is not to spend more than $3 to $5 per item, because once you spend more than $3 to $5, the returns are not that great. Depop fees are really high, shipping costs are really high, and on top of that, you have to pay taxes. So you don't really want to spend a lot of money on a piece unless you know you can make a lot of money off of it. One way I get around this though, if there is an item at the thrift store or at an estate sale that I really like that's a little bit more expensive, is I average the cost per item per trip. So if I spend $50 but I get 10, 15 pieces, the cost per item is pretty low, even if one item was $7 and $4. So that's just a way I keep track of it in my head. The second thing I do is I try to test trends instead of just diving head first and just buying a bunch of like tennis skirts or Hawaiian print. I like to buy like 1 or 2 pieces. Like for instance, I bought like 1 or 2 Hawaiian print dresses the other day, and I listed them to see if they would sell. So this is a good way for me to see if people are interested in buying the item so that I can go ahead and buy more, or I can just cut the loss at $5. And it also prevents me from having an excess of inventory when the trend is kind of over. The next thing I do is have key pieces on my page. So I sell a lot of denim. It's easy for me to find at my thrift store. It's cheap and I can find good vintage denim. I would recommend if you're starting out, try to find those like pieces that your thrift store has in abundance, like if they have a lot of flannels or a lot of sweatshirts, and then test those items out and see if they sell. So if that happens to be something people buy from your shop, you can just keep buying that and keep selling it, so you have more of like a consistent item that you're selling in a way to bring in consistent money. I also try to find things that I would like or wear. This is personal preference, one, so that my page has like kind of like a similar look to it, and two, if it's something that I like, somebody else is probably going to like it, so it's more likely to sell than something that I saw on Pinterest one time or that I saw somebody on TikTok wearing. And then my last tip goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, and it's just list everything. Any piece of clothing that you have, anything you're not interested in, just list it. You never know what's going to sell, and again, you want to have as many eyeballs on your page as you possibly can. So listing everything helps to ensure those two things. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is picture quality, and this is probably one of the most important, if not the most important things when it comes to your Depop, because if you have a pose that's slightly off or the lighting's bad, somebody is not going to want to buy the item because it does not look good. As for lighting, I like to wait for more sunny days because I prefer the look of natural light and because it just makes the picture quality turn out a lot better on my phone because there's more light in the lens of the camera. But on days that are a little bit more cloudy, I will use studio lights, but I try to avoid this at all costs, and I would recommend that you avoid cloudy days too, because again, picture quality is really important, and if it's just bad lighting or the item doesn't look good, people are not going to be as likely to buy it. I also like to have a white background, and there are a couple ways to do this. I take pictures in front of a closet, but you can also take pictures in front of like a door, if you have a garage door outside, or if you just like get a paper backdrop or even hang a sheet on the wall. This is a good way to have like a background that isn't super busy. You could definitely also use a corner of your room that's nice, but you just want to avoid having like a lot of stuff that distracts from the item. A tip I have is also to make your item look 3D almost. So the way to do this is to have a little bit of like texture in the background. So for instance, this door has these panes on them, so when I take a picture in front of it, there's a little bit of a 3D element to it since it isn't just like a flat white wall. I also like to model anything that fits me because people are always asking for try-on pictures, and I also like the way it looks on my feed, so that's just like a personal preference for me. Anything that doesn't fit me though, I do have this white foam board that I got at Hobby Lobby. It's like this gigantic piece of white paper basically, and this is good for items again that don't fit, or if I want to take like pictures of tags and stuff and I don't want to have like a random carpet or something in the background. And if you're a little bit confused about like what background you should use or how to pose, the best thing for you to do is to look at other people's Depops and just copy their poses and copy their backgrounds. So there are a couple of different accounts that I follow that I like to look at. One is Maya Trevere, and then another one is Maggie Calorie. I don't know if that's how you pronounce either of those names. I just look at their photos for inspiration, and so when I take photos, I try to copy it. They have successful shops, and I really like the way their pictures look. And it also just helps me with like modeling, especially if like for skirts or something, or for shirts, so that I was putting my arms in the right places, because again, you don't want to just stand there like a stick. You want to like make the item look good, so posing is a good way. So I wanted to throw some tips in here for modeling jeans and shorts because it can be a little bit tricky, and it took me a while to figure this out, but it does look really good. So the first thing I recommend is trying to fold it in the front like I'm doing here, and then what you're going to want to do is kind of push your hips back to stick your butt out a little bit, which sounds kind of weird, but it just makes the shorts look a little bit better. Then what I like to do is I like to have my legs like one in front of the other, and then I also try to reach toward the ceiling just so that it creates this little gap so you can see the difference of where my crop top ends and then where my shorts begin. And then here I'm just rotating around and seeing what looks best, and then when I take pictures of the front of the shorts, I do that same kind of folding technique, but I do it in the back, and you can see that it prevents it from bunching up too much. You want to make sure the fold goes down as far as you can so that on like your hips and stuff it doesn't bunch, but here's just what that looks like. And then instead of standing there straight, I try to either stand at an angle like this. I'll stick my leg out at an angle so that it just makes the shorts look a little bit better, because any type of pose, it just makes it look better than me just standing there. And so that's pretty much how I model shorts. And then as for equipment, I have a couple of different things I use. The first is my tripod. I got it at Target, and I just take a hairband, I wrap it around my phone, and then I take the attachment that the camera goes on. So I take that and then I put my phone on it, and then I just attach it with a rubber band. I also, again, like I said earlier, use that giant foam board. I'm pretty sure you can get them at Michael's for like $3. They might be a little bit smaller. And then I also use studio lights when I need them, and a measuring tape. And then as for the way I take the photo, I use self-timer. You can also buy a remote on Amazon that connects to your phone via Bluetooth if you don't want to have 10 pictures of the same thing. I just have not bought one of those yet. And then I also take all the photos in square format because most of these sites use square. Depop uses square, so I want to make sure the image is like cropped correctly for the listing. So now I'm gonna walk you guys through the process of listing an item on Depop, and I have like a set description that I use and like a format that I use so that I make sure I have all of my information. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go into Depop with all the pictures that I have, and then just go to my camera roll and select them once I choose. And so right now I'm listing this green Urban Outfitters dress. I think it's like an eggy collab. It's really cute and I really like it. I'm sad it doesn't fit me. But the first thing that I'm doing is just selecting all those images, and then I'm cropping them a little bit just to make sure that they look better and you don't see like the straggly bits of hair. And then I go to the top right and click the check mark. And then the first thing I like to include is the brand. So this was an Eggy X Urban Outfitters dress, so that's what I put here. If you don't know the brand of it, or it's like vintage, I would also put that there. And then I do these two little dashes and then put either the name of the item or like a description of the item. So if I didn't know what this dress was called, I'd call it like a peasant dress or something and put that there. And then I will skip a line and I will write next day shipping. Since I promised next day shipping on my shop, I'm able to do next day shipping and people appreciate it, so I put that there. And then I start writing the description. So I like to start out with like a little blurb about the dress. So I'm like, this is the most adorable little green dress from Urban Outfitters. And the important thing here is to use a lot of keywords. So you want to include things like peasant dress, polka dots, the color, different parts of it, so that when people are looking up specific things, they can find the item. I definitely do spend a lot more time on my descriptions than most people, but I do sell my items kind of high, and I want people to read the description and be convinced to buy it. After I write the general description of the item, I skip a line again, and this time I'm just writing the condition and the brand. So here I just wrote new with tags from the brand Urban Outfitters, and then I like to include sizes and measurements. I normally don't put measurements for items unless it's denim, because people don't ask for it that often. Here I'm just writing extra small, and then also fits true to size, since it does. And then I included my own measurements so that people can see it on the model, and so if they have similar measurements, they're able to tell what it's gonna look like. Then I say message me with any questions so that people know they can reach out to me. And then below that is where I put a bunch of keywords and hashtags, and this is very important. I try to think about like what's trending on TikTok, honestly. Like cottagecore is something that's big on TikTok, so I include that word. I'm pretty sure this was from a Jen M collection, so I put that there. Then I put like princess, picnic, summer, because those are all things the dress reminds me of. And then now I'm just categorizing it. It's a dress, so I'm putting that. The brand, make sure you try to put the brand if it's something like Urban, Free People. The size, make sure you put the correct size in and the correct brand in. Don't put in a random brand that, like, if it's not Brandy Melville, don't put Brandy Melville, because Depop frowns upon that and people don't like when you do that. And then there's this option for style, so you can say if it's like a modern piece, what kind of like style it is, if it's boho or indie or anything like that. And then I just add my own shipping here. It's gonna cost me around $5 to ship this item, so that's what I put. And then here you'll see I'm just going back and adding hashtags. So I put Urban Outfitters, hashtag Eggy, hashtag cottagecore, because those are all things that people probably look up or I think are popular. There are definitely websites you can go to, like best hashtags, or you can use Google AdWords to find the hashtags people are looking up the most, but that's a little bit too much work for me, so I don't do that. But yeah, that's pretty much how I list my items. As for pricing, it can be a little bit confusing to decide how much you want to price an item, and it's very important that you price it correctly, because if you price it too low, people might think that the quality is bad or there's a problem with it. And you also don't want to overprice it like too much, because then people are not going to spend the money because they don't think the item is worth it. So you have to find that middle balance. So one way that you can do this is through Google Lens. When you download the Google app, I think it is, I don't know if it's Google or Google Chrome, there's an option to search by image, and so you can upload an image from your camera roll that you took of an item, and it will bring up either the item or a similar item. And so for instance, I had this Free People dress that I got at the thrift store, but I didn't know the name of it. So I went into Google Lens, I uploaded the photo of me wearing it, and I found other people's listings on Mercari and Poshmark for it. So I was first able to find the name of the dress, which is able to put in my description, and then I saw how other people priced it. And if you can't use Google Lens, just look it up on Depop and see what other items are selling for. I would recommend pricing a bit on the higher side and also adding a couple of dollars, and this is for a few reasons. The first is that people always try to negotiate with you, and so if you list an item higher but somebody asks for it for a lower price, you end up getting the same amount of money you would have got in the first place, if that makes any sense. And then the second reason is because Depop fees are really high, as I've mentioned before, so pricing the item a little bit higher helps to account for this. Finally, we're going to be talking about shipping your items and how to actually get the items from your house to the person who bought them. So there are two ways that you can do this. The first is with Depop, and this is the easiest way to do it. You just go into Depop and into the listing, and then you just select the size of the item. And you can buy a scale for this and weigh each item, or you can just guesstimate. They'll tell you like a top weighs a certain amount, or like jeans weigh a certain amount, and then you just select that option. And then once somebody buys an item, you just get that label and you can print it out and put it on your package. But if you want to save a little bit of money or appeal to your customers, or you do free bundle shipping and you don't get that bundle label, you can also use a website called Pirate Ship. This is what I use to ship a lot of my items. So you copy the address from Depop, and then you go to this website, Pirate Ship, create an account, and then go to create label. And then you just have to paste the address from Depop in there, and then just make sure all the information is filled in correctly. And then there are two options that you're going to need to fill in yourself. The first is the weight of the package, and the second are the dimensions of the package. So with the weight, you could just get a scale. I got a food scale off of Amazon. And then for the dimensions, just use a ruler and measure how big the package is. And then you just put all the information in, click get rates, and it will tell you all the different options you have and the cheapest option that you can get. And so I usually always go with the cheapest, and it's usually always 1 to 3 day track shipping. And then I go ahead and select that, and then I click buy label, and then I'm able to just print it out from there. The reason this is good is because you can avoid going to the post office and trying to ship out like 10 items at once, and you avoid the hassle of it all. And the second is because the post office usually charges a bit higher of a rate, so doing it at home reduces the cost. Once you have your label, you then need to package the item, and so I like to have like nice packaging, but I don't go overboard with it because there's a certain point where the packaging, it just gets too expensive and people don't appreciate it. So I just wrap my item in twine, and then I put a business card in. I ordered my business cards from Vistaprint, and they have a deal usually where you can get like 500 for 20 bucks. And then I just put it in these blue poly mailers. I like to have the blue one just because like with High Tide Thrift, I like the theme of the blue. There are also websites you can go to get more environmentally friendly bags, or you can reuse things you have at home. I would definitely make sure that it's waterproof though, because in case it rains or something spills on the truck or something, you don't want the item to get damaged. You can also wrap stuff in tissue paper. I know that I wrap like scarves or slip dresses in that just because it's like a nicer material and it just makes the experience better. And then once everything is packaged, you just have to take it to the post office, and then I like to ask for a receipt so that I know that the post office like received the item. So I just go up to the counter and ask them for a receipt for the packages, hand them to them, they scan them all in, and then I'm able to go. And I know I'm all set. And then I go home and I copy the tracking number that Pirate Ship gives me, and I just put it into Depop so that people have the information about where their package is and when it's coming. And that is how I ship my item. Once you have everything listed, actually selling items is a different story, so I wanted to give you guys a couple of the tips that I use in order to sell items consistently. The first is that I try to refresh my listings around 1 to 3 times a day, and if you don't know how to do this, you just have to go into the listing for an item, click edit, and then click save, and it will refresh it in the feed so that it's updated. I also like to have my notifications on, and this is because if somebody is making me an offer or they have a question about something, I want to respond in a timely manner for good customer service, and so that it's more likely that I make a sale. I also like to offer bundle discounts, so I do 10% off and free shipping on my bundles. There's a way in Depop to actually offer the free shipping, and even a little notification will even pop up on your page when somebody goes to it if you offer this free shipping. And so I would recommend this just because if people see that you do discounts and that you do bundle shipping, they're more likely to buy more items from you. And I've noticed that a lot of my sales come from bundles, so I would definitely recommend them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you learned a little bit about Depop and selling online, and hopefully you could take the information, this wealth of knowledge I've shared, and go forth and sell a lot of clothes online, make some extra money this summer. If you have any questions, be sure to comment them down below, or if you have any tips about Depop, also share those down below so that like I know and other people know. But yeah, thank you guys so much. If you want to check out my Depop, it's High Tide Thrift. I will link it in the description box, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.